Wonderful. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Levsha Podcast. And today we have Francesca Sorrentino. I can say that she's just a very professional woman from the localization industry. I have cooperated with her in many aspects and ways and businesses, but now I'll give the Francesca the word for she can probably introduce herself. So Francesca, please do.
Thank you, Fedor, and I hope I'm not butchering any names. I'm a professional in localization and in many things and many languages, but not Russian. So I hope you will forgive me. It's true, we go way back. We've cooperated probably for the last 10 years in different ways. Fedor and Levsha were my vendor a few years ago, a translation vendor on a very famous soccer game and other sort of video games. And then I became your vendor. And then we cooperated and we hosted, I would say, at least one or a couple of talks at Game Global back when we were online during COVID. I was the conference manager for Game Global, and I was organizing the conference. I was organizing the talks. I've been in the localization industry since 2010. After studying translation, so I've been basically everything I know and everything I've done in my life is around translation and languages. I started in video games, video game localization, and then I evolved somehow into other sorts of topics and other verticals. And I am a freelancer working across several different projects and several different kinds of ways to do localization. And my main project right now is with Phrase, former MemSource, and I'm taking care of the localization for them. So I'm running their internal localization program, taking care of the website and the product, everything they need to localize internally for themselves. And it's a very interesting way of being both a vendor and a customer, because basically in my role, I'm also a Phrase customer because I'm using their technology.
It's that in that story, that gives us from the start the best selection of topics to discuss, and the first one that goes to my mind is that our podcast is about localization, cultures, video games, and let's start from localization. And you are now localizing a localization product from the one part, and from the second part you are now localizing a software product. And I guess that you have some experience with working with software companies, and so having some understanding of the localization, so how it's called, the fancy localization maturity level, and how the localization DNA is so spread. How do developers understand the importance of that we are doing the global products, whatever. So long story short, yes, of course, I understand that it's your customer, but is it something different in the localization company when you are localizing a localization product, or the challenges are more or less the same as in other companies?
I would like to have a fancier and a more positive answer. The truth is, I've seen over the years and in several companies, not just now at Phrase, the level of localization maturity is more or less the same everywhere when we talk about software. And I think I'm seeing that the industry is behaving more or less the same way a bit everywhere. there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, a lot of collaboration that needs to happen between localization and developers. I think there is more and more maturity. We can see it, right? But there's still a bit of disconnection, and there's a lot of, let's say, pre-localization work that needs to happen before the products are developed.
Mhm.
And it's still not happening. So we have to catch up once the products already exist. And that, of course, makes everything more difficult and slow.
Yes, Francesca, and I can say now that that from one point it's a bit relief that sometimes you have the feeling that everyone is working in a fancy way on a pink unicorns, and you're just the ones with some clients that just don't understand basic things. But it seems that it's not the case, and then it's a very usual topic in the annual localization discussion, very usual. But as we can see now, there is still no answer. So maybe you have some insights, some ideas. So basically what I can say, that every time you try to pitch a localization talk on a game conference, no one is interested because it's boring. That I guess you have visited such talks, and most often they're more or less the same. More or less, people are so pouring one into another here and there, back and forth, that what you need to do, what you don't need to do. But the thing is that usually localization people meet on such talk, and after the talk they exchange opinions how they are bored that no one listens to these talks. That's my experience. So what we need to do to make this interesting for developers, and if it's something that could be real or not, or maybe we need to just, I don't know, sell some bonus items, so check a localization course and just give some achievement or just whatever, or we just can say that it is like it is, and it is the way the world wants. So your opinion.
My opinion. So I try to be organized around this because I have many thoughts that come to mind. So the first topic for me is that I find it a bit disappointing that in schools or universities, when you, for example, when you teach programming or software development or whatever, it doesn't look like localization is a big topic. And I think it should be. Because then, programmers and developers, they come to the market and we need to teach them. But we are experts in something else. We come from languages probably. So we need to teach them some technical stuff. And maybe we're not the best suited to do that. That's on the one hand. I think what we can use, the two arguments we can use to convince developers are, first of all, you want to think about localization from day one, and you want to be ambitious because you want to sell your product, and you want to sell your product in many territories. So if you don't take steps to prepare for localization from day one, you're probably going to be locked up in one market, or you're going to have to rely that you can reach many markets, maybe with just English, or just Russian, or just Chinese, depending on where you are developing, which is not always the case. So that would be the first argument. The second argument for me is that localization is very underestimated in terms of workload and in terms of expertise, in terms of investment that you need to make to do it right. So if you start underestimating it and you have to catch up, you're going to find yourself with the wrong people in the wrong roles, with not enough knowledge to catch up and get to the point where you need to be with your localization program. and wasting resources, in my opinion, wasting resources because you are doing localization, or you are asking someone in your team to do localization there, and they're not ready for it, and they don't have the knowledge, and they're just, working manually, and they're wasting time, and they don't know what to do, and they talk to the wrong vendors. They try to do things themselves, and maybe they try to translate, or they try to do QA and all this kind of stuff. And it feels like it's not a big deal. And maybe the company doesn't want to make the investment and have a localization team or a localization manager. But if you look, in my opinion, if you look at the costs down the line, it would have been so much better to hire a localization manager, or a localization expert, a localization team, depending on how big your operations are, from day one, and get it right from day one.
Sounds good. As you know, that on this point, I can also touch another topic. That yes, so thank you for your thoughts, and I of course agree. But that looking into the real life, that I guess you can agree that this is not something developers are busy from day one, because they have so many stuff that it's not working in the correct way, and even in the big companies. Even the setup pipelines with the setup processes, the dedicated localization managers, then there are many points then things don't go in the right way, and the teams are aimed to release their product. And I understand them, because they want the game or their software, whatever they're developing, they want it to be alive. But the things I wanted to touch, that we are talking about programmers, and that I love programmers. So my partners are the programmers. We love that tools that work, and that if we take the programmers that develop tools and games and softwares, whatever, they usually, sometimes, I've encountered some people who think that that technology is over just everything. And if we look in the world right now, I guess you feel what I'm trying to touch, yes? That localization, managers, translators, whatever, why do they need it? We have neural networks. They will do just everything for us. First time I've heard it, it was just around 10 years ago, that one of my clients said, well, we're stopping our localization. We have a neural network. It will localize just everything for us. And with the quality of the text that ChatGPT-4 provides now, it's even more harder to convince people that it doesn't work in that way, at least from the beginning. But of course, as it's the 2023 on the yard, I'd like to hear what do you think here. So how it's evolving, and what we can and just what we should do to make it reasonable, I can say.
Yeah, I think the key word here is evolving. Localization is evolving. The roles that you have in localization are evolving. So I think it's probably wrong or not very convincing to start from translation and talk about translators, because that's where the argument comes, and they say, yeah, but now we have neural networks, and we have MT, and we have whatever, so why would we use humans? I think our task now, our job now, is to adopt these technologies and harness them to continue doing localization. And our role as localizers need to evolve in a different way. So maybe we won't have translators anymore working in localization. They are going to be converted into language owners, language specialists. Why? Because part of their job is going to be translating, but then part of their job is going to be able to use the technology, to be able to evaluate what the technology does. I mean, our task and our role is to convince developers that yes, technology is there, it's going to be helpful, it's going to bring savings, but you still need experts to deal with the technology and to make the most of that technology.
And have you personally some experience with mastering and harnessing? Whoa, what a wonderful word! That's what we need to do as a language specialist to select the correct words at the correct times, at the correct situation with empty generative engine, just whatever. What's just do you have any experience, and what's your feelings from it? So
right. I start from the bottom. Namely from the work that I'm doing with Phrase, and from the information and knowledge I get from being embedded in such a company. There is a variety of use cases, they're called, and the technology can be used and deployed in so many different ways, depending on what kind of company, what kind of work, the level of quality that you need to achieve, the level of speed that you need to achieve. So how often do you have to iterate and bring localized products into the market and all this kind of things. So I have been pretty much immersed in this world, and I have seen how technology can be harnessed in many different ways. From a translation perspective, because I'm like an octopus. I'm touching many different fields and many different ways of approaching localization. I'm still translating as well, and I do have a couple of clients and a couple of projects. And I can see how sometimes MT is absolutely necessary, and there is content that, as a translator, to be honest, I don't want to touch anymore. I think it's fair that the machines take care of it. And there is some content where MT is not useful at all, or even now we're introducing even more AI into MT even, and I'm being prompted by some tools to rework text based on AI prompts and all these kind of things. I think in many cases, when you have to, for example, when you have to provide very creative translations, when you have to provide something that is very much connected to, for example, company messaging or to revenue. Like, for example, if you are translating, I don't know, a big a slogan for Apple, which is not my case, but something very specific that needs to take so many things into account, keywords and marketing messaging and revenue and all these kind of things. The technology is not in the forefront anymore. The human is, and the human has to make decisions. So I'm seeing a lot of different cases still, and a lot of different ways to apply technology.
Cool. And here I have two things to share and questions to ask, whatever. So first of all, there were such cases that I've seen them personally, that you say that yes, the company motto, slogan, whatever, but that you have a big company and you encounter a motto of the product, so like in a translation batch, and it's for free words, and you get paid for a free words, and you need to justify the slogan for the product. And while we both, I think, understand it's nonsense, it doesn't work this way, but quite often it could happen in big companies, just because that we have it created and just have gone in the pipeline, whatever. So as a freelancer with some freelancer experience and with some vendor experience, so what do you think, how it's better to so let it make it big. Yes, that and just getting back to the topic that the workload of localization is a bit underestimated, and the next thing, oh my God, apologize me if I'm just putting too much thing into one bag, but they are all connected. And that another thing, then a client comes to you and says, here are the strings, please review them. So, and you start to review them and understand that it's something generated by MT or by a generative engine or whatever. So these are all examples of the workload that it's not adequate to the money you are going to receive as a person or as a company. So what do you think? And if you have an experience, so how do you explain value of what are you going to do? And so that's just not that review of some random MT that wasn't set up in the proper way is not something fast. So how to explain explain that it doesn't work this way?
I don't think there is any other solution or any other way to go about it than explaining. So you have to sit and explain, and you have to establish a relationship with your client where you are valued as an expert in your field. You are valued as an expert in localization. And this is something that I think we haven't done right over the years. I say we as vendors and freelancers and linguists, we have, because of how the industry has evolved, so that there's always a drive to save money, to make it faster, to make it more agile. And I think we do have to fight a bit to establish ourselves as professionals and to make our voices heard. No one is going to tell a company that their approach to localization, that their way of using MT and they're using engines, no one is going to tell them that it's not working if we don't do it. This is, again, it's the ideal world, and this is the perspective of a person that has worked in the industry for many years. And I luckily I had the chance to establish myself and get experience and get recognized, and now I can have this kind of relationship with customers, and my voice can be heard, and I'm listened to, and I am able to educate them. I wish we could also help our younger colleagues and maybe people who have just started in the industry to have this kind of courage and establish themselves as experts from day one. I'm always I like to make a comparison, like when you are a doctor, for example, no one questions you. Like if you go to the doctors and the doctor tells you to do something, you do it. So why is it not the same for other professions, including localization? Why do we have to fight? Why do we have to continuously convince someone of our worth?
Del, it's a very good point and very interesting, because you know that I always I compare it with for example, the plumbers. That, you know, then you call a plumber, and there are very, at least in the places there I have lived, there are very many options, because there is a good options. You just call a guy or a girl. They come, say, okay, it's okay, I'll do, and you need some small fix. They come and just make a fix. But the amount of options is, you know, it's very big, because they come and say, oh my God, who have created it? It is wrong, and it is wrong, and it is wrong, and it's need to be so just devastated and just built from the scratch. Or then someone comes and does something, but you feel that it doesn't so it doesn't feel right. And you start to read books, articles, YouTube videos, and understand that this person actually doesn't know what to do, and you know it better. And even not being a professional there. And sometimes they even sort of try blah blah blah. I know this and that, and you hear, oh my God, why are you telling it? It's basic school physics. It doesn't work this way. So, and I feel that as a part of any service industry, yes, you're I can absolutely agree that you need to be valued expert. And so you know that my dream, yes, that to be we as a company and I as a person that to have a like a view, a vision. So like someone there you go to consult that these are guys I rely on. And they're the guys that I can trust. But of course, it's you just not do from scratch. That and the same thing as the plumbers. Then I was I was rebuilding my house a couple of years ago, and I only the seventh guy whom I called to make to build some heating and some water supplies and whatever there, they understand what they did. Because first 6 options they didn't.
Yeah, it's true that we also have to be honest, and we need to be aware of the level of service we're able to provide, and we have to be open about what we do, what we can achieve, what we want to be paid, and what kind of service we are able to provide with the rates that we are offered. I mean, the very first discussions about applying machine translation and to translation and adapting translation rates, I remember the discussion was and still is, but the translators are not going to tell me if they're using machine translation or not. So of course I have to lower the rate because of course they're going to use machine translation without telling me. In my opinion, it's a bit of a ridiculous discussion in the sense that, of course, if the technology is there and it's useful, everyone wants to be able to use it. And the way of going about it, you open a conversation, you set some rules, you start a discussion, you try to find a middle ground. You don't just assume that everyone is gonna screw you, and everyone wants to, just get it their own way. There are ways to work together to achieve an objective.
Yeah, that some time ago that I was discussing it with one of my friends, so not work related, but we figured out that really there is two types of people who so one look at the world as something in general friendly, and another they all the way around they just feel that these guys they'll cheat me, will screw me up, and I need to be very tough with them. So, and from time to time, the both options work, but you know that the second types of people are very hard to cooperate with because they are not aimed at cooperation, because they feel you as a cheater who is going to cheat them, and so yes, it's not very easy. It's
not a very good way, of living and looking at the world. You create a lot of problems for yourself. That maybe wouldn't be a problem if you had a more open approach to this kind of issues.
Okay, thank you for Francesca for this interesting part, and let's. I want to also to discuss the view, just another part of our industry. So, as we have discussed, you've worked both in games, in software, on the vendor side, on the client side, on the product side. And so I think that two main questions I'd like to hear what you think. So first of all, game localization. Just inside of our game, so the sandbox, it's feel that we are a bit special. So just it's a bit it's in general like software, but a bit special. I had some experience with some other types of localization, and if I compare games and software, I can say yes, it's a bit special. But what do you think? Are we really so special? And if yes, what is actually special?
So it's a great question, and it does come at a very timely moment, because I was just discussing game localization with someone else last week, and she's not in game localization, and she made me notice that there's a lot of passion in game localization. So people who work in game localization, they love games, and it feels like they would do anything to be in that industry and to work on certain products. So this is definitely one thing that makes it special. And then what I've seen compared to other industries and also compared to other types of software, the amount of work is often higher, or the ratio between amount of work and speed. It feels like the game localization industry is a lot faster, and I don't know whether it needs to be, or for some reason we made it faster because everyone wants to provide a better service and wants to get there first, and all these kind of things. Also from the vendor side, but I can see the pace in game localization is a lot higher.
And I was thinking about it too, and just my idea is that it's maybe somehow connected. That if you work in game localization, you love games, at least in the part of your life you love games. So I guess that there is just something a bit special in the construction of your neural network, so real neural network, and neurons in your brain, so that makes you work fast and just have lots of fun from what you're doing. And it's encountered quite often then that people start to work in game localization and they stop playing games. For example, me, before my first the full-time job as a localization manager, which was 16 years ago, I was really playing much, but at some point my work started to be my game. So that, and I just always loved the economical strategies and just the managing translation and localization companies. That's your economic strategy. So you hire people, you create rates, you find tools, you make it that all how it works. And sometimes I still have time and passion to check what's new on the market, but it's no comparison to what it's been before I started to work full time in game localization.
Yeah, I mean there's that. There's also we are getting a bit older, and we are getting slower. I feel.
Yes.
It's hard to keep the pace and stay in gaming and technology as you grow older. You're not as fast. I think, one thing is, let's not make it a trap for ourselves that we love video games so much and we want to do anything to be part of it. Let's remember it's a job. Let's remember that rates need to be fair, that we need to be respected, that we are professionals in our field. I feel in some cases it did get a bit out of hand. And a few years ago, there was a lot of also crowdsourcing for localization and these sort of things where everyone would, I love this product, I love this game so much, I want to be part of it, and I'm offering my services for free. Let's be careful with that.
Yeah, but that's for sometimes that's my colleagues and partners told me from time to time that I can with just some ideas or some business just development ideas. So guys, let's do this and that and that. Oh my God, yes, you feel that it's fun, but let's just count some numbers and understand if it's really worth it in the business, aspects. And just regarding crowdsourcing, it's a very good thing that we some time ago, and we have even an article about it in our blog. We have localized Richard Garrett's Shroud of the Avatar, and it was a hell of the game in just in terms of amount of text it contained. And we've done it for Russian, but some other languages, they were crowdsourced and they were not finished. Because that the part, then it stopped to be fun, and you need to just translate so tons of skill description. So not many people makes lots of fun in translating skill description, frankly, and they didn't finish it because it's not very fun. It's not very fun, and just you don't get money for it, then it doesn't work. So for the developers who want to make some crowdsourcing, so also please take it into account, because your game could have parts that are not very fun to localize, and you need some drivers to make it happen.
I also want to briefly tell a related story. A friend of mine has as a kid, I think he's like 18 or 19 or something like that. And she said to me, well, he doesn't feel like studying. He doesn't want to go to university. So I thought maybe he could find a job in video games because he loves video games. And I'm like, it's one of the most complicated worlds you want to be in. It's not all fun. And there are a lot of different roles, and you have to be very skilled. You have to work really, really hard. So I don't think it's a solution if you don't feel like putting an effort into it.
Yeah, it's a very usual story about testers, for example. Oh my God, yes. I will play games and just receive money for it, but it doesn't work this way. It's a hell of a job. It was taught many times before, and will be taught many times after. But guys and girls, some attention, disclaimer. Being a tester is not really very fun job.
No,
so
it's not.
Just remember it. I've tried it. I guess Francesca tried it too, and it's not very fun job.
So I have to say, and I often repeat this, I'm so grateful for testers. So I'm so grateful they exist, and I'm so grateful someone is willing to do that job, because I really don't like it. I don't want to do it. And I feel so lucky that I've never really had to do it, because I started as a translator, and I would only I would also test my own translations, but it would be a different kind of environment. I was still a translator, so my role would not be as a tester.
Yeah, so let's hope that younger generation will just hear us and makes right decisions in their life. There is still one topic I would like to cover with you. You are an Italian by origin, now live in Barcelona. Have some experience living in Germany. So there are, from my perspective, there's a bit of types of different countries and cultures, and something look-alike, something very different. So how do you feel them? What's better for you?
So I will talk about my experience, and I will
Absolutely.
try to be
Absolutely.
as politically correct as possible. When we were preparing this podcast and you proposed this topic, it made me reflect, and I tried to think what is different about each country that I lived in. I feel that, so I'm from Italy, and studying in Italy, I think was very good for me. At least in my time, it was good. I felt that the level of knowledge and seriousness was quite high. So I would look at maybe other European colleagues of my same age, and I would see that their knowledge, for example, in languages, would be different. So Italy is, when you study, is a lot about theory, and that part is really, really well developed. So I'm grateful for that. So for that part of my life to have been in Italy. When I started working, I moved to Germany. So from my perspective, Southern European, and we know how the market and the economy is in Italy, but also in Spain, in Greece. Working in Germany felt like, I don't know, like a level playing field where everyone would be allowed a chance to develop in the way they wanted to. So for me, what I've seen in Germany, it's easier to start a career. You're given lots of opportunities that maybe you're not given somewhere else, in other countries in Europe. Salaries are fair compared to the cost of living. And it's easy in a way to live in Germany because you don't, it's just my feeling. So you don't have to wonder so much what is going to happen. What do people think? It's very, everything is straightforward. Like if you do this, this is going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And everything is like very logical and very straightforward. However, I do love living somewhere sunny, and I love to be on the beach. And at some point in my life, I wanted to move back to the south of Europe, and I decided to move back to Spain. It was a wish of mine to live in Spain, and I made it. And now I live in Spain, and I think what is special about living in Spain is that there's a better work-life balance. It feels like your days are longer, and you can fit so many more things into them than just work. I feel like I have more time to do stuff that I like, and it feels like people have more fun than even, in Italy. It's a very similar culture, I would say, but it feels like that there's something in Spain that is a bit more relaxed. That doesn't mean lazy, and I feel very comfortable here.
Yeah, it's good to hear, and congratulations that you've found that the place where you feel yourself comfortable. It's there's something really that many people in the world, they lack this feeling. So, but it's interesting for me because Spain, I guess, and Italy, they're also a bit different. So I think if you take people from Milano and from Napoli, they are very different. And in Spain, if you take people from Barcelona and from Madrid, they're a bit different. And that's within one country and just one sovereign culture. And if you compare it from just something from another parts, even of Europe, it will be so like very very many differences there. And so yes, I think that finding a place that's good for you, it's good, and which wish that everyone can find it and feel themselves in the way that it should do, because yes, our life will end at some point. we're not immortal, so it's better to achieve this point with the feeling that you had some good things, you've done some good things, and you just had some fun. So thank you to Francesca. If you have anything to add to this discussion, please do it now. or just do it never, as it's done in the movies. Then a bride stares near the altar. Say it now, or just say it never.
Nothing to add. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for an interesting conversation. And I think it's very special that the industry is so well connected. So I'm talking about the localization industry, especially the gaming industry, is so well connected. We've worked together for many years. It feels like we've been colleagues, even if we've met probably twice in person or once.
Yes, I guess twice, 3 times, something like it.
Yeah. So I'm really happy that we managed to continue our friendship and our collaboration. I hope to see you very soon in person, and I'm looking forward to more episodes of the podcast. I'm curious to see who else is invited.
Okay, thank you, Francesca, and thank you everyone for listening. As usual, it's a third episode, but if you have some ideas, suggestions, and questions for the next episode, please send them to podcast@levsha.eu. And see you, stay tuned, take care, play games, localize games, and just live your life in the way you feel it should be lived. Thank you very much.